Well, that French political earthquake never happened. The dinky metrosexual globalist with his stick-on chest hair and his cougar drama class schoolmarm managed to survive. They'll be in the Elysee Palace for another 5 years. And they saw off the challenge from the far right, Marine Le Pen. Did I mention that Marine Le Pen is far right? I do hope so. The BBC do it every minute of the day. It was Macron versus far right Le Pen. I think that's actually how it appears on the French voting ballots. So it's either a new BBC drinking game or she's changed her name by deed poll. Ah, bonsoir, Madame far right Le Pen. Gaston will show you to your table by the door of the WC. You're looking especially lovely tonight, Madame far-right Le Pen. May I call you far-right? Anne-Elisabeth Moutet joins us from Paris to go through the entrails of this thing. Let me just say what I thought of it this time yesterday when the results started. The first results to come through came from all the overseas departments. Which are what we in the UK would call colonies. So it was all places like Martinique and Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon. And they basically all voted for Marine Le Pen. And I thought that interesting because last time round they all voted for Mélenchon. So I thought, well, at least on these distant islands, the far left guys are going for the far right ladies. If that happens in metropolitan France, Macron could be in trouble. But in the end, he prevailed.
Yes. Yes, and what they really wanted to signal was that they felt abandoned, that they felt that the metropolis, France, mainland France, was not taking care of them, and it didn't matter what kind of things they said. They felt, like many people in the Rust Belt in France itself feel, that it's all about la start-up nation, as Emmanuel Macron calls it, and they have forgotten the worries about people who are hurt by cost of living increases and, in general, things that the Macron doesn't seem to know anything about. But he's still been re-elected, partly because Marine Le Pen, at the end of the day, was not believable, and that's not just on him, it's also on her. First of all, because she's both right-wing and left-wing. Her social program was very attractive, that's what they liked in Guadeloupe and Martinique, but she didn't explain how she would fund it. And the other thing, of course, is that she has taken 2 loans from Vladimir Putin over the years for her party, not for herself. She has reasons for that, and she explained those reasons during a debate with Emmanuel Macron, in which she said, look, no French bank would give me a loan, even though because I poll well over 5%, I was guaranteed to my campaign cost to be reimbursed by the state. But nonetheless, they virtue signal, and therefore I had to go and find somebody who would give me a loan. The National Rally is a poor party, but that's not dishonorable, which is a very good line. She said some good lines, and she hit the best score for them ever, but she still doesn't quite reach 42% of the vote, and that's probably the end of it. She seems to too many voters as unelectable, and it's a circular thing.
Well, let's break that down a bit, Anne-Elisabeth, because the sort of shorthand of some of this is that old people voted for Macron and people who aren't old voted for Le Pen. And you can see some, and actually you don't need to be that old to be old enough for Le Pen, but under 50, there was really quite an impressive Le Pen tide. So in a sense, demographically, she has the wind at her back to a certain extent.
Yes and no. Lots of young people voted for Mélenchon. He's a Trotskyite. He says all sorts of things about social justice, and they have just the right age to like that. Older people felt that she was not reliable. And you have older people who voted for Éric Zemmour, for instance, and even though he only polled 7.1% of the vote, it was very obvious that he had a very different vote from hers. She got working class people, she got the Rust Belt, she got the small towns and places where you don't have services anymore, public services anymore. She got the classic vote of the equivalent to Donald Trump, but she doesn't have a moxie of somebody like Trump. And at the end of the day, that didn't work. And you had lots of old people who felt, do I trust that woman to sort of be to steer the country where it should go? And to some extent, she's a sort of young Joe Biden. She's not believable enough.
Well, thank you for saying the word moxie, which I think is impressive for a francophone. It's a fantastic Americanism, and you're right that if you're going to go down this populist route, I think it's fair to say you do need a certain amount of moxie. But let's look at it across the 21st century, as it were. Monsieur Le Pen, Marine's dad, he got 18% in 2002. Then Marine runs first time, and she's absolutely clobbered by Macron, so she gets, I think, 30-something%. And now she gets 42% 5 years later. Do you think it possible that France is 42% of people voted for Jean-Marie Le Pen's daughter? If you'd said that to anyone in Paris in the year 2002, they'd have said, this is some crazy comic book dystopian fantasy. Get out of here. I'm not even wasting time considering it.
Well, yes, but on the other hand, she made it so very clear that she was not her father's daughter, or rather politically. I mean, she decided, she fired him, first of all. He said he made an anti-Semitic joke, and she grabbed that in 2015, and she just expelled him from the party he'd created. And then she decided to soften not just her image, but also her platform. She decided that she no longer wanted Frexit. She decided that she didn't want to leave the euro. She decided that she had no problem with Islam, only with Islamism. She was essentially doing sort of the Sarkozyist, with a bit of sort of French style in addition to that. And for a long time, people said, if you want to buy something, you don't buy the copy, you buy the original. But then came, first of all, Macron, who sort of made people define themselves next to him, but also Éric Zemmour himself, who expressed more strongly and more clearly lots of the things that she was trying to sort of tiptoe about, and it made her seem acceptable for lots of people who wanted to cast a protest vote. So her personal Overton window moved back leftwards, and she became more acceptable for some people. At the same time that others thought, oh no, I don't want her.
Yeah, it seems to be difficult for anybody west of Austria to close the deal on this kind of stuff. And we've talked about whether she over-detoxified herself and perhaps needed to retoxify herself back a bit. Since we brought up her dad, does her dad think she's softened the party too much?
He said this many times, that she was going the wrong way, and I mean, he's a sort of terrifying dad in many ways. He criticized her. I must say, yesterday, he actually said, no, I stand with her. I think she's got a fantastic performance. This is admirable. And he was sort of pretty behaving like a normal dad, which hasn't always been the case. So it's the detoxification. But the other thing is that she's not believable enough as somebody who can sort of get this through. I personally, I'm with the people who believe that after this election, there's going to be a sort of recomposition of the French right that will bring some people within the French equivalent of the Tory party in Britain and the Republican Party in America, and bring them with some people from some Le Peniste, some people from Zemmour, some people from all other small parties, and they're going to build a different kind of right-wing party that will really be right-wing and not centrist. And that would be something like sort of a Tory party, including Nigel Farage, crossed with Viktor Orban's Fidesz.
Nigel Farage crossed with Viktor Orban. This sounds like some terrible horror movie in the making, but you see it as France's political future. Thank you very much for that, as always, Anne-Elisabeth Moutet. That's an interesting theory.